Women deserve to have a supportive network of like-minded women who empower, discover, and embrace her true divinity. We believe when women feel safe, loved, accepted, they feel empowered to achieve their goals and highest values. And this is what we bring to you through our organization. Well, here we are again for Crystal Within, our wonderful new movement where we want to inspire women to get all they need, or a lot of things they need. You know, that's one thing I think we want to create very meaningful relationships as we become an adult, a mother, we go into business or our work life. It is important that we have support and that we can share our thoughts and feelings, or just simply have a sounding board, hear our self-talk, and then figure out our issues somehow. It's good to hear from other women that they're going through similar things. And this is really our program about, or at least at this point, that we want to give information to and start to think and talk about certain topics to help women see that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not alone in this. Others have issues with maybe themselves, with self-care, or sitting down and making a budget. You know, even that will be included in our program in January. Relationship with the spouse is always a big one.
Right.
We get so many questions. So we
Yeah.
can see that is sure an issue in the whole universe. And then parenting, as it has become much more complicated, I think, to raise children from generation to generation, a little bit more the latest, you know, the challenge with all the technology that we are competing with in our relationship to our kids, that we get time with them. So today we have Kendra here again, and it's wonderful to see you, to have you as a guest speaker again. And we want to get some information, some of your experiences with doing groups, because I know you are, I mean, it's not a bad thing if I say you're a group junkie.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that.
Yeah, because you get so much out of it.
Yeah.
I know you've shared personally with me. You read books, you go to groups, you're online with others, and you meet so many others who are like-minded.
Yeah.
From that, you have gained incredible support and insight. And I would just love if you share a little bit with women what you get from groups, what the meaning, what the benefit of this is, that you're attending and do lifelong learning. So please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that really causes so much pain in our lives is isolation, is feeling alone. And we can feel alone even if we're in relationship with others. In the middle of our entire family, we can feel alone. In a relationship where our spouse is sitting right next to us, we can feel alone. And we feel alone because we aren't feeling felt. We aren't being seen and understood by another human being. So even if we have friends that we see, or acquaintances, or we have work people, or even in a marriage, or even if we have a family, we can still feel alone and feel like no one really understands us. And we can even be confused with our own voice of being able to hear, how do we actually feel? Who are we? And so I found that support groups are such a beautiful place to be seen and heard and accepted and understood, and where people really are curious to know me And I have a place that I can go, that I can share about myself and my struggle, and I won't be interrupted. I won't be hijacked where they take over and tell me about how it's all about their story instead of mine. And then I'm like, what? Or people try to tell me what I should do. And we have these things in normal relationships, which is fine. But sometimes, we can't even hear our own voice because we are dominated by those around us. And um, we just start to become where we feel alone and we don't even know who we are. So I found when I started to feel that way, that going to support groups gave me this sounding board to where I was able to speak up and hear even how I actually felt. And it was okay. It was accepted. People were supportive. And I had this safety in the group that there was the way to respond to a person was clear, that it was supportive and encouraging and asking questions and challenging in a good way, that really gives this sense of I belong here, I'm important, I have value, and people are all here to support me, and I'm seen in all my flaws. I'm seen in all my struggles and the things that I'm even doing wrong, but everyone still loves me. It's like this unconditional love. And many of us did not receive that in our families of origin growing up. And even in our current relationships we don't feel this sense of we're loved no matter what. It seems a lot of times very conditional. And then we can even pass that on to our children because we haven't gotten that unconditional love ourselves. We can't give that to others in our lives. So going to a support group for me was where I filled up on that source of unconditional love that I could show it even to others around me. And there is also this having this sense of belonging and support has now been proven even in some studies that were done after 9/11, and people that after this very traumatic experience, when they went home to places of support where they felt like they had a support system in some way, whether it was a family or a good therapist or some support group around them, they healed actually quickly through the trauma. They were able to process it in a safe space. They were seen and heard and understood, and other people were there to attune to them, to feel their feelings with them. And then they could feel safe enough to move on. But there was the people that didn't have any support system, where they didn't feel safe to share and they didn't process the trauma. Then they actually, they had PTSD and they were not able to function again normally in their life. It had a lifelong effect. And so they noticed this after studying the everyone in who was involved in that 9/11 incident, that it really showed the power of having an attuned person in your life who's there to support you, who cares about you, and who's safe, where you can go to and share all of your stress or your worry, and they love you through it. And so that's a beautiful thing that I found. Even in one of my favorite groups was adult children of alcoholics. And it's online and it's free and it's all times throughout the day. Every day they offer different times. There's even one just for women. And it's not just about having an alcoholic in your life, but it's dysfunction, any kind of dysfunctional relationship where you grew up feeling like you weren't seen, you weren't heard, you didn't have a voice, you weren't attuned to, you lacked these things. And so it's not just about abuse, but it's also about what didn't you get growing up. And that's developmentally, we have some trauma there from just not receiving that kind of love. And so going into that program really helped me understand my inner child, learning about what I needed, what I didn't get, and how that affected me in my life today, and how I just continue to show up with those wounds in my current relationships. And then I wasn't the only one, turns out. All the other women in the group, it's so many similar stories. We all struggle with very similar things. So it creates the sense of belonging, that I'm not alone, that I have support, that there's people out there who are also struggling and also trying to work through the hard things. So that just felt so empowering and supportive for me, just having the different groups that I felt we're all supporting each other in this journey.
And I'm sure, Kendra, as people listen to it, some women think, oh, yeah, Kendra can do it. She's just looking for help here and help there, and she's out there and redoing her life. But it's not for me, or
Mm,
I'm afraid, oh my gosh, and so on. So
mhm,
I'm sure you have things to say for encouragement.
mhm,
I want to say that I have been to seminars where some people just sit somewhere in a corner, and even if we challenge them, I facilitate a lot of seminars, so that's why I'm saying we challenge them to say something. It's just a little bit comes out and they don't say much. They come to another seminar to get more courageous, and another seminar, and then finally they speak. So there's no need to go there the first time and just pour out everything that's inside of us, because then
mhm.
if we feel like, wow, I'm standing here naked and emotionally naked, and then we feel. So I would say, if you go to groups, test first if that
Mm,
group is for you, who is in there, what's going on, and so on, and really measure what it is that you want to express and how you also have boundaries or take care of your inner child, so that
mhm.
there's safety. Because one thing is, we are already wounded.
Right.
Everybody is. We come as wounded people into these groups and into adult life. And then we have to learn how to find healing, and at the same time, how to protect ourselves during this process.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
courage to risk something, and at the same time, just watch out, what the environment is like. And
mhm.
one group may be for you, one not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups to choose from.
Hmm.
And the beauty of the Codependence Anonymous or the Al-Anon groups or um, the Adult Children of Alcoholics, they're very structured, which creates safety. So they have each person is allowed only a few minutes to share, and nobody's allowed to interrupt them when they do share. And you don't even have to share. Some people just come on and they just listen to the other women who are sharing, and you can really gain so much even just doing that. Just wow, look at all these women here who are struggling, who are sharing. Just that sense of not being alone in your struggle is so powerful. So I would definitely encourage, in looking for a group, look for safety, look for structure, that people aren't just allowed to talk whenever they want and interrupt each other. And that wouldn't be a safe group for me. I wouldn't join a group like that because I wouldn't feel safe to share. And so, but if there's a timekeeper, everyone has a certain amount of time to share that, and there's, the feedback is either limited or restricted, then that way it really does create where you can be vulnerable and you're going to be okay. And that's a beautiful thing to experience when you haven't had that experience in your life, when sharing vulnerably has been dangerous. So it's a whole new experience for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
want to also support that, saying, or to underline it again, that every organized group that's advertised out there has structure and safety features, and we learn skills through this.
Mhm.
Because what we learn in these groups, then we can use at home with spouse, with family, at family meetings, for example.
Yep.
It's a real important tool to learn how to hold family meetings if you have
Mhm.
children,
Mhm.
no matter what age. You're growing into it, and the structure of the meetings will grow with it. uh, that is something. It's great if we can learn it in groups, see how
Mhm.
this works, and then we become the facilitator as the parent and spouse with you
Mhm.
at home, and make
Yeah.
it safe for the kids.
Yeah, we actually did that in our own dinner table.
Yeah.
We had in the beginning, I remember just it was so chaotic, so many kids, there's 8 of us all around, and people were talking over each other. And I just noticed, like, oh man, I don't feel inspired to be at this table with everyone. It didn't feel good to me. And so I did actually use that structure I told my kids, okay, guys, we're all going to just take a turn to share. Each person, we're going to share one, and I had different theme for every day, one feeling of the day, or one interesting thing that happened, or one sad thing that happened, so we have a different prompt. And the practice was you're not allowed to interrupt. That was our big skill that we had to learn. And so then at first it was hard because they are used to interrupting each other, and it's not all bad. They want to be like, oh, that's cool, or oh, that, but we had to really learn each person gets their turn to go around. My littlest is 7 and my oldest is 18. And so now my littlest one loves this the most because she never was heard. She was always talked over to me, and all these older kids. So now she always makes sure we're going to go around the circle, right, Mom? Because she wants her turn to share, and everyone gets to be quiet and listen to what she has to say. So
Yeah.
now and I know even the teenagers who roll their eyes, they really like it too, because they always have something to share and
Right.
they always get their turn. And so it's just beautiful to see it even implemented in my own family. And now I love dinner. I love sitting down and hearing about everyone's day in a structured way. It's beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I'm sure many here are inspired, especially again, young mothers. They
Mhm.
can learn from you and can simplify, I mean, or less stress, have less stress in the family when we do things like this. So it's
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
Exchanging. So from groups, we can ask questions, we can exchange, learn skills, and then take them home.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to say that there's different ways or ideas for groups. For example, I have one online and we meet every 3 weeks, but then in
Mhm.
between, when things happen in our lives or when we need support or we just want to get something off our chest sometimes,
Mhm.
then we email to each other.
Right.
And that is one kind of exchange I have, which I like. And then I have a WhatsApp group, actually my very first coaches that I trained in 2017. We are such an intimate group now. And when things happen, then we share, if somebody wants prayer support or if somebody just wants to announce the joy of having a wedding of their kids, things like this. So we inform each other. There's such a give and take, there's
Mhm.
life in it. And I love
Mhm.
it that I have my kids are gone out of the home. So I love that I have more different inspirations like this going
Right.
on. And I
Mhm.
want to encourage the individuals that to create things like this from our group, from Crystal Within, when you get to know more people, first of
Mhm.
all, through we have a few live calls during that 12 weeks. One is coming up. And then we have in January our first real course. And in that course, to really look out for, oh, who would I fit well
Mhm.
together? What comments are people making? How is their life? And if you feel like you're matching and you can really give to each other, you can benefit and have a fairly equal give and take, then
Mhm.
it will be very easy that we at headquarter connect you in a safe way and you can build these groups, smaller groups of support for yourself.
Yeah.
So if anything else that you comes to your mind, Kendra, about groups, or I think what I want to hear a little bit more about is the inspiration. You have such a desire for lifelong learning.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you're hungry.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I used to think that um our growth was like a line, a linear experience where you go and go until you get to the end and then you're done.
Mm,
So I was always reaching for this end of the line, but I've discovered that it's more of like this deepening of this experience of life, that the more that we can go into our own suffering or pain or hard feelings, but we can hold the space for them, that it's okay that we feel really sad, or if we feel fear, or we actually gain capacity to hold those hard things, then we can actually feel joy and compassion at a much deeper level too. So it's almost like a deepening of my soul, of my experience in this life as a human being, that it's never ending. It can just become so immersed in my daily life that I can experience so much joy even from simple things like a beautiful sunset or a cute little toddler or something. There's just a depth of this feeling of being totally present in my life because I'm not caught up in my head and all of my past things and worried about this and that, but I just feel more of this sense of calm and like security and being fully present with all of the emotions and things going on in life. It's just this abundant, never-ending source of learning more about myself and connecting to others in a deeper way. So yeah, I just love learning so much about all the different things. And the more I learn, the more I see the similarities in all the different groups and religions and understandings. And so much of it is all, it really boils down to this sense of we're all really connected. We're all really interconnected so deeply. And any kind of trauma or hard feelings is just from being disconnected, from feeling alone or fractured or pieced off, from not and feeling not connected to anything. And so the more that we learn, the more we integrate and connect to ourselves, and we can connect to others. So I just love anything with that feeling of connection, of oneness, that I feel like that's kind of the path of life for us.
As you're talking about, I can actually feel it when you speak about, being pulled here and there and getting all this information. That's how we start out. And then I think what you said, we let it sink into
Yeah.
our core. And I
Mm-hmm.
certainly can say I've noticed that as I got older, that I am able to live out of my core more.
Yeah.
I feel present. And
Yeah.
when I'm inside of me and myself,
Mm-hmm.
then when things happen out there, I have this choice that you're talking about. The
Yeah.
choice, oh, how would I respond to this? Is that relating to me? Or if I
Right.
need it in an instant, then okay, how can I respond to it? What does it mean? And I have
Mhm.
so many choices, but I don't have to leave my
Right.
core.
Right.
And that is something so hard, I think, even or especially for the youngest generation, because they're raised. I mean, the phone is delivered with them in the baby crib. And they
Yes.
are so good. I mean, you're also much younger than me, so you're so good at that stuff. And our generation just struggles and feels like, oh, can I leave that somewhere else and just be
Yeah.
me?
Mhm.
So a challenge for sure
Yeah.
these days to
Yeah.
learn to be me and to
Yeah.
live from my core and choose the instruments, choose my friends, the time, how to spend time,
Mhm.
and be happy within.
Yeah, so connecting back to your core, that really resonates. And that really reminds me of the crystal within. Really, it for me, it's that sense of clarity within myself, my strength, as strong as a crystal, as beautiful as a crystal. It just and that clarity within myself. Um, I really see so much value in that. So I'm really grateful for this program. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Kendra. It was wonderful to be with you again. And I know we have more time in the future. And also with our wonderful ladies out there, we'll
Mhm.
see you again soon.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.